This is the 3T Exploro in full bike packing regalia that I've just been using to ride around the North Coast 500 in Scotland in just 3 days. There is a full video about that adventure over on the GCN channel now, but in this video I'm going to talk through the bike and what is in those Apidura bags. This is the team version of the 3T Exploro. If you remember, I was lucky enough to ride the limited version on my first ever bikepacking trip to Morocco last year. The difference between the two is down to the carbon fibre used and the layup, and what that means in effect is that there is a weight penalty to this one of 190 grams for the frame and fork, but it is a much cheaper frame. Otherwise, everything is the same, the geometry is the same, the look and the shape is the same as well. And the look, I think you'd agree, is very distinctive. That giant down tube there, which has been designed to be aerodynamic, but aerodynamic for wider tyres. It caused a bit of a stir when it was launched, an aero gravel bike, seemingly something that was quite controversial. And I can see why. If a bike is covered in bags, then it's not necessarily going to be very aerodynamic. But that doesn't stop the frame and the fork being aerodynamic just because you've got bags on there. So technically, you are still getting the advantage of that. Now, perhaps the aerodynamics is a slight sideshow away from what I think is the ace card of this bike, and that is the versatility. It's been designed around using multiple tyre widths and indeed wheel sizes. So as you can see here, I've got road wheels on there, more on them a little bit later. But you can fit smaller 650B wheels and then fit fatter tyres on, so up to 47mm wide with this double chainring setup. But if you're running a single ring, you could get up to 54mm wide, I believe. And then on these rims, the 700C version, you could run up to 40mm wide gravel tyres. Now, the difference between those is actually quite minor in the sense that the handling of the bike will remain relatively consistent across the different wheel diameters, but the actual feel of the bike will be very different. Riding a bike with fat mountain bike tyres on, which is what a 54mm tyre is, gives it that kind of invincible feeling, and you can tackle pretty much anything with it. Onto the wheels, which are the new, very stealthy looking 3T Discus 45 Limiteds. Now, these, much like the frame, have been designed to be aerodynamic with wider tyres, and because of that, as you can see, they're really broad, but they have a very interesting characteristic to them, which is that 3T have designed them to be a little bit less aerodynamic on the leading edge, so that'll be that part of the wheel there, and same on the front wheel, but they've then made it more aerodynamic on the second trailing edge, so this part of the wheel here. And so basically, if you look at it, old school wheels used to have that teardrop shape because that's effectively an aerofoil, which is very aerodynamic in that position, but not in that position. And so what they've done is they've balanced the aerodynamics of both sides, meaning that they say this is as aerodynamic as a rim that's 60mm deep, whereas this one, clues in the name, is just 45mm deep. Now, part of the way they've done that is by making the rims really broad, so they're 32mm wide externally and really wide internally as well, so 25mm wide. Now, that still allows me to fit a 28mm road tyre on here. I'm running the new Continental Gp 5000s, but of course it also would give great support to an even wider tyre, like a gravel tyre or so forth as well. This is the first time I've ever used the GP 5000s actually, and owing to the fact that the road surface at times wasn't terribly forgiving and the huge volume afforded to these tyres by these wide rims, I ran them super soft. So even though covered in luggage, I'm still running about 55 PSI in there. We chose the frame-only option of this bike in order to fit this new SRAM Force ETAP Access group set. The reason being is we're using this for another video at the moment, which is finding out whether one bike can do it all, so race on-road and off-road without changing a thing. And this was the group set that we're using for it. Now, there's loads of information on the channel about it already, but in a nutshell, this is SRAM's ETAP Access technology, available for the first time on their second tier group set Force. As you can see, I have a front derailleur on this bike. That's right, I'm running a double chainring up front. New X-range gear ratios, again created this time for ETAP access, meaning that I've got a 33-46 tooth chainring combo up front, paired with a 10-33 cassette at the back. I'll be honest, I used every single one of those gears. The 33-33 bottom gear was exceedingly helpful, dare I say essential, for getting up some of the 20% gradients we found ourselves faced with. And then I've found myself very much thankful of that 10-tooth sprocket at the back, because there was some super fast open downhills as well. The one thing that front derailleur does do is it limits ever so slightly the width of the tyres that you can run. So Mark, I know that you noticed, had 650B wheels with 47mm wide tyres. Now they would fit, but you might not be able to squeeze anything very much bigger in there. Finishing kit, I've got a Physique Arione saddle on top of a 3T seat post. That's the seat post that comes with a frame. It's the same aerodynamic shape, which they call Squaro, and it's got a diff lock clamp on there, which is a really cool kind of ratchet system. Up front, got a 3T stem, and then they're Super Gaia bars. They're like a flared gravel specific bar. And they come in two sizes, and it's really cool. So I've gone for the slightly narrower ones. So the hoods are 40 centimeters apart, which is a bit narrower than I'd normally ride, but still super comfy for me. But then, because the drops are flared, you end up with a nice wide, confident position. And they're also quite a compact shape as well. So actually, the difference between the tops and the drops isn't all that great, which again, I find particularly comfortable. Last thing to mention is the Wahoo Element computer I've got on there. So of the two Element models, this one has a slightly longer battery life. I did have to top it up with a portable charger on the last day, where we were out from 7 AM until 11 PM, which is perhaps unsurprising, but otherwise got through absolutely perfectly. What about the bags then? Well, these are the Apidura Expedition range, and ironically enough, I didn't need to use their full waterproofness at all up in Scotland, but as you can see, I have done today whilst filming this video. But anyway, there we go. As you can see, I've got a bar bag, that's 9 litres of storage. I've got a litre of storage in the top tube bag, a full frame bag, which is 12 litres, and then I've got a seat pack on the back, which is another 16 litres. So that's 36 litres of storage in total. Now, to pack them, I have used the Josh Ibbott method, and I'll talk you through that in just one second. I suspect most of you will be looking at this and wondering what on earth is going on. So, because I'm using a full frame bag, I decided to use a camel bag. Obviously, I can't use water bottles in there because there's no space. So, I've got a 2-litre camelback bladder going on. Now, honestly, that's probably overkill for Scotland, where water is not exactly in short supply, but I wanted to try it, and it was pretty cool. It also meant that I've got a little bit more storage in there for other stuff as well. So I had my toolkit in there. I packed pretty light, 2 tubes, multi-tool, chain tool, and a pump and a patch kit, rag, and then any kind of clothing that I needed on the bike that needs to be easily accessible. So gloves and overshoes and hat and waterproof jacket and so on and so forth. Then up here I had valuables, bit of food, I had a phone charger in there, any kind of cables and stuff. Then up front, this was like my casual clothing, if you like. So as you can see, I'm using road pedals, which was slightly controversial, but I figured the amount of mileage, I wanted the comfort and security of road pedals. So I had a pair of really lightweight casual shoes in there, as well as casual trousers, a fleece jacket, a warm jacket, a bobble hat, a t-shirt, and 1 pair of pants. Yeah, just 1 pair of pants, that's right. Meaning that at the back, that was like my sleeping kit. So I've got a sleeping bag in there, a bivvy bag, and an air mattress as well. Oh, and that's my toothbrush on top. In terms of the ride clothing that I had, it was very difficult to pack light, given that the temperature could have swung from one extreme to another. So I did have to take overshoes with me and a thick pair of gloves. I had just 1 pair of shorts, I had 1 pair of bib shorts, I had a short sleeve jersey, a long sleeve jersey, a short sleeve undervest, a long sleeve undervest, which I then also slept in as well. Great. And then a waterproof jacket on top of that, and that kept me comfortable from about 5 degrees when we set out right up to, of course, 22 degrees plus whatever it got to during the day. Then at the back, this was all my sleeping stuff. So sleeping bag, I've got a Rab Mythic 400. Now it's super light, but actually it can keep you warm down to -7, they say. Now, I suspect seasoned bikepackers would scoff and say that was far too warm, but I would call myself a cold sleeper, and I thought it was worth carrying an extra 200 grams of down around in order to have a comfortable night's sleep. I suspect some people might call me a wuss, but hey, I'm going with cold sleeper. I've then got a waterproof bivvy bag in there. That's a Rab Storm bivvy, and a air mattress from Alpkit as well. And as we said, I had a very, very comfortable night's sleep. It was excellent. So yeah, thoroughly recommended. Mark, incidentally, chooses to pack his bag slightly differently. He had his tent and his sleeping bag and his mat up front here, and then a load of other gubbins at the back, like the stove that we used. You'll also see that there is an absence of my dangle mug, my GCN dangle mug, which did make an appearance in the video, but I didn't actually get to use it. Such was the schedule that we were forced to keep by the end. So it came on a long trip and didn't get used, but hey, there we go. Otherwise, that is it. This is the bike that I took around the North Coast 500. Didn't get any mechanical issues, which is fantastic. And the one other point to mention is that I didn't even make a dent in the charge of my ETAP batteries. I did have a spare with me just in case, but no charger, and it wasn't even remotely needed. So there we go. Make sure you give it a big thumbs up if you like it. I certainly will be, because I had a fantastic time on it. Any questions, stick them in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them, and let me know what you think as well. And of course, if you haven't seen the video that this bike comes from, then do make sure you check it out. You can get through to it on screen now.